to go beyond senior, just retire. That's it. Okay, I'm joking. So it's actually cool and awesome, but you need to understand the perks of the job, and you need to understand that as a more senior engineer, you need to do more. So that's actually my day-to-day now. And by night, I do mainly social media. Why did I do social media? Because I was more interested of how anyone who's entering the scene today of software engineering to understand how it works, how everything is going on, what are the news of things that are newly introduced, and also like all of the market experience that I gathered over the years, I'm able to like, tackle them, introduce them to you guys through these like, channels and Instagram videos and so on. Okay, let's dig into it. We're going to talk today about programming trends. What are we going to exactly talk about? We're going to talk, of course, about AI. That will come. I'm going to talk about it in a more practical way. I'm going to show you guys cursor. I think most of you are familiar with it. But also, like, we're going to talk about programming trends in general. Like this year, we're getting lots of trends that we saw. We want to understand more where the programming languages are at, because they are really important to see. So why do really trends matter? Why should you be a trendy person? Of course, you should be there up to date, so you're not obsolete. You're not like this version of caveman of SpongeBob. And you should be also able to align with the industry demands and standards. Because basically, when something new gets introduced, they make it a standard at some point. And you need to understand that it's a standard. Okay, so I'm going to work with that. And also, basically, to get paid more money. Like, I think most of you here are interested in getting paid money, right? Like, I don't think there's a software engineer in his right mind, he doesn't like money. I think all of us love money. So if you're getting to learn more, you're getting to be a more unique person, and you have more insightful knowledge, you're able to give more. And also because it's also fun to know this stuff. Like, it's really, really fun. And sometimes it's fun. I think, yeah, our job can tend to be boring sometimes, but most of the time it's fun when you overcome the errors and bugs and all of that messiness and late nights. Then suddenly, like, whoa, I learned something new and made it work. So that's a moment. And it can be a good conversation opener. Like if you are in an interview, for example, and your like interviewee is talking to you about like, hey, did you see this new library? Like, yeah, I saw this new language that does 1, 2, 3. Like you become the cool person like to the interviewee. So yeah, that could be something. Give it a try. I give it a try sometimes, and it works actually. When I know something new happens and I give it to someone I'm getting interviewed by, they're actually amazed, like, wow, you know that? So yeah, it's kind of cool. Okay, enough. Let's go into the real part. Let's do it. So first of all, is PHP dead? Like, this is really something I want to talk about. I don't think it's dead, right? Like, is it dead? Like, if you guys agree that it's dead, can you just put a thumbs up? Okay, all of these guys agree that it's dead. Okay, if you don't agree it's dead, yeah, put a heart out. Like, I just want to get like, the feel here. Yeah, okay, cool. All of these guys think it's not dead. And realistically, it's not. If you look at most of the websites today, as of 2025, 75% are running on PHP, because PHP is good at what it does. Even personally, I don't like PHP, but it's going to be around, and then it's going to stick around more and more and more, because PHP is really awesome. You get to do everything with it. It's an uncompiled language. It's really flexible at writing your variables. Most of the jobs don't really require in a project something that's high performance, and PHP is good at it. Like if you're just creating forms, a website, a simple like end-to-end solution, PHP will be very good at that. That's why it's not that. That's why it's never gonna die. It's always gonna continue. And of course, that goes also to Laravel, because Laravel did a really great job at taking the PHP scene, and it's amazing. Like, by the way, like a sneak peek, I'm gonna have a Laravel course out soon, so it's kind of like following also the trend we're getting and the hype we're getting. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Go is really a powerhouse. So Go is actually was not really intended to be a language that goes out there and to be used. It was not intended to be that. Like, it was made as a solution to solve the problems of C++ and C, because I think most of us should know that C++ and C are very fast, are blazingly fast. And that is because they have low-level access, especially with C, not C++, because you'd have to fine-tune and picker, and it's totally unsafe. Like, you can play with the memory, basically. So Go was actually introduced to be somewhat an alternative for these complicated languages, but it became kind of trendy, and it became kind of adopted worldwide during the last 5 years by 5 million developers worldwide. And I'm seeing it being used in the backend day after day after day, because it's the sweet spot between performance and complication to be more like, less complicated. It's less complicated than C++ and C, and it's also high performance. I'm going to show you that, by the way, in a minute. Like, I'm not just going to just talk about it. I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about in terms of performance. So that's Go. Okay, what else? Rust. I think maybe most of you guys heard about it. Thumbs up if you heard about Rust. Like, did you hear about it? I think you did. Like Rust is becoming basically something that is more and more adopted, but it's not going to be adopted the same way that Go is going to be adopted. Why? Because Rust is more complicated. And that's something you need to put in your consideration. Most languages, when they are being decided to be used, you'll find like something like PHP, it's used and it's still adopted because it's easy to learn, easy to maintain, easy to use. Developers like things to be easy because we are humans. We don't like things to be complicated. Not all of us love to understand what is going on in the heap, in the memory. We don't need to know that. But when you're dealing with something like Rust, you need to do that. You need to understand that if you're putting something in an integer in memory, it needs to be thread safe by defining its type as int64, for example. So you need to do stuff like that, which is really, to be honest, for me, it's even boring. Like, should I keep and identify each and every variable and each and every operation? Well, for most tasks, you don't need to. But for Rust, it's the sweet spot where it got introduced. So it actually came as a replacement, if you look at it, to bring you engines, to bring you compilers through Rust. Like today, I think one of the most popular ones, I don't know if you guys heard about it, in JavaScript, there is something called SWC. I don't know, like, did anybody hear about it? Like, maybe you can just put a thumbs up. Yeah. So SWC is actually built with Rust. And that's a more faster transpiler because JavaScript is not really compiled. So it's actually a transpiler that would happen that you would use to convert your JavaScript React files into ECMAScript modules that would run natively in the browser. And it's much more faster than the one built with C++, the Node.js default one. So Rust is kind of efficient that way. Why is it efficient? Because you need to manage memory by your hand. When I say memory management, I think it's really obvious. You need to go ahead, define when something should be cleaned up, when something should be destroyed. You need to do all of that by hand, which basically means you need to be a really advanced developer or engineer to be able to deal with Rust. That is the complication of Rust. Like, you need to be really advanced to be able to deal with it, but it's a really speedster. Like, it's amazing. Okay, so what about Rust against Go? Like, it's not going to be only performance here, because Rust would get an advantage of building engines, compilers. You get to control the memory. Go has memory management, has a garbage collector. Rust doesn't. That is like the big difference here. So eventually, if anything, would have a garbage collector, it would be much less slower, because the time it takes to clean up the memory, to release the variables, clean up the objects, and so on, would take much more than Rust itself when you're managing everything on your hand. I'm just gonna ask a question, and you guys give me a thumbs up if you think this statement is true. So C++ doesn't have a garbage collector. Do you think that is true? Yep, exactly. So C++ is also the language that doesn't have a garbage collector. You need to clean up things by hand. If you leave them, they get to sway away in memory. So you need to do this destruct way of destructing your objects, cleaning up your pointers, deleting them. So you need to do that. At least pointers to be deleted, you just need to make the reference null. That's something just basics there. So that is Rust. So so we talked about now PHP, Go, Rust. These are super trendy languages nowadays. You'll find jobs for them, by the way. But Rust, not in the Middle East. You would not find jobs about Rust because, again, you need to be super advanced. You need to know what you're doing. So you'd find it more used in blockchain, they use it there, and you find it more used also where there is a need for building some kind of game engine, compiler for JavaScript, and so on. Last but not least, as a trendy language this year would be JavaScript. So yeah, shout out to JavaScript because it's amazing. I love it. It's kind of a preferred language for me. And JavaScript is, if I don't know, if most of you guys know that, but JavaScript was not intended to be at all a programming language. This is something that most of people don't know because they got introduced into JavaScript, building code with Node.js, building applications, and that's it. But actually, JavaScript is a script language. It was built for script kiddies. So script kiddie is kind of like a term they used, that someone who writes something with a language, but it's not really a programming language. So it's kind of a scripting language. And the main difference between a scripting language and a programming language is a scripting language is always aimed to be something supportive to a programming language. And that's how JavaScript was actually intended. JavaScript in the early days was used with PHP, actually. So you build something with PHP, and you just need a small interaction in the front end to validate a form, to do some kind of highlighting on text. You do that with JavaScript. But nowadays, after the introduction, of course, of Node.js, Bun, all of the other compilers that were out there for JavaScript, it's basically used now in any modern website. There isn't a company that I saw that doesn't use JavaScript in the front end. It needs to use it. Most likely, of course, the use of React, Angular, it's out there. And more trendy is React from what I saw. I don't know the reason behind it, to be honest. Even though Angular makes more sense to be the one to get the trend, but React is more trendy than Angular. Even you would find more compatible jobs for it. But yeah, anyway, I think nowadays it doesn't make a difference. If you write the code with AI, you're good to go. Yeah, but anyway, more on that. So these are the 4 trending languages we can see this year. There are open jobs for it. There are a high demand on it, either in the back end, in the front end, specifically JavaScript. JavaScript will take the sweet spot, of course, of becoming a full stack engineer. So a full stack engineer is basically writing the back end and the front end. You guys can also interact with this. Do you think a full stack engineer is something real? Do you think a full stack engineer is something someone can do? Yeah, some people are giving thumbs up. Okay, cool. Some are giving thumbs down. Okay, cool. For me, my opinion here about full stack engineers is actually not correct, that no one is really a full stack engineer. There is no one person that would be able to do both tasks at the same time because you're switching context. But you're doing one of them at a time. So if you are working as a full stack engineer, most likely you're working on one task at a time that is back end for a period of time. Then you're done with it. Then you're shifting to a front end task and working on it. And from my experience, from the companies I saw, most of them are startup companies. they were working mainly like, yeah, they're hiring you the full stack engineer, but basically I'm writing front-end code. I was writing heavily front-end code, especially in a company called Create2P. They had a solution basically that needed front-end code. And it was very rare that you would do something that would rely on that. So someone is asking Arabi, Arabiya. The reason is there are some people here that won't understand Arabic Egypt or the Arabic I would talk, so that's why we're talking in English. So yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, basically that's it for the trending languages. Let's go into Cursor. Are you guys excited? Like, are you guys ready? Let's go into Cursor and give it a try. Like, let's take a look at Rust, Go, JavaScript, PHP, and let's see what we can do. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen on something else now. So I'm going to present. Can you guys see my screen? Is it visible? Let me zoom in a little bit. Cool. Okay. So I'm here in Cursor, and for those who don't know Cursor, Cursor is basically an AI tool. It's an IDE. It's similar to the experience you would get out of Visual Studio Code, but with a huge difference. And that difference is you have here on the right ability to give it a prompt, and that prompt is able to do magic for you. But you should give it a prompt that is really, really, really accurate to give you what you want. So for example, if I wanted to build an HTML page that will display cards of people that need to be hired for a job opening. So I'm giving it just a random prompt. If you guys didn't see it before, I'm just showcasing it for you. If you didn't go through this experience, I'm just like a quick walkthrough here. So what it will do, it will start working actually inside your project, what you opened here, whatever your project is, and will start generating this for you inside here. If you even look at it, it will go ahead, create right now this HTML here, and it will give you this HTML. Hey, this is what you requested, and this is it. And I added a card for Sarah Johnson and so on. Really amazing, like, right? Like, if you needed to do something like this, like 2 years ago, you need to do something like this, you had to write it all by your own hand, or go get a template from something like Enviro or whatever, and start relying on it. But now, no, it basically does it for you. So it even went ahead and created a styles.css file and a JavaScript file that you can use. And it's really amazing. Like, even the results it gave for you, I think it would look good. Like, if I even open this, I'm going to open it in the browser. I'm curious to know like how it would look like. Let me like share the result in the browser. So go back here to the browser. Let's open this result. And let's open it. Wow. Okay. So this actually looks good. And this is something that, like, you know, it gives me the wow every time. Like the wow metaphor. It's really good. It's really neat. Like, and even it's giving it this Hoover effect. I don't know who these people are. Like, it got some random images. Okay, good. And it has really a card of people that are potential candidates. It did exactly as I did inform it. And it did a pretty good job that it gave me the cards, and I can just take that card and use it. But this is not really the interesting part. I want to show you something that's more interesting here. And that would be really that whatever you want to do and modify there, it's going to be able to do it for you. So going back here, what you do is after you take a look at this code, if you like it, you say accept. So I just accepted this code. And that's a big problem, by the way. Do you think it's correct to accept the code without reading it, without validating it first? Like, give me an interaction here. Do you think it's a thumbs up or thumbs down? Yep, exactly. What I did here is really basically a nightmare. So you should not, like, people go the easy mode and just, hey, yeah, accept, cool. This is amazing. You're basically putting a big pile of bomb inside your project. You need to know what you're doing. But of course, for the sake of that, I'm trying something, it's totally okay. But what I want to show you here that it's interesting, and this is something I've been working on for a while with, if I came here and I told it, change the CSS to use Tailwind version 4, this is where things come interesting. So what it will actually do, if it doesn't have Tailwind reference, it would go and consult the documentation. And you can actually come here and tell it, hey, I want to consult a specific documentation for Tailwind. This is amazing because it will go and check the last updates of Tailwind, because version 4 was just released months ago, was really recent. So maybe the model doesn't have it under the hood. So you can just tell it, hey, use Tailwind CSS. I want to use it. So that's really interesting. And it really does. I even tried it. Like if you give it a minute to start working, it will check how it would do that. And it would say like, okay, so I don't need that. Let's remove the separate CSS file and let's implement Tailwind classes directly. And Tailwind is something, it's not really something that you need to learn. It's not really something that's complicated. It's something easy, I think. But for the sake of easiness, it's easy for you to generate a boilerplate today without the need to buy any template. That's the amazing part for me. So if you take a look here, what it did is it replaced all of your classes that were in CSS, and it went ahead and added all the Tailwind CSS. How much of you guys know like Tailwind CSS? Thumbs up if you know it. I'm not sure, did you work with it? Yeah, cool, amazing. So anyone would know that it's really kind of painful, especially when you're starting out a project, that you need to use Tailwind CSS. Tailwind CSS, for who doesn't know it, is a utility CSS library. It's basically something like Bootstrap. We had Bootstrap CSS, which is basically dead today. And we have now Tailwind. So Tailwind is a minimal utility tool that you just go ahead and install it using this script in your HTML. But if you're using something like React and so on, you would not get it like here. So you just add it here from the CDN and you're good to go. And you add your classes. That's it. You don't even need the CSS. And that's what it will take care of it for me. So it will go ahead, delete that CSS file. I only have the index.html file, and that's it. So what about the result? How would it look like? Like, this is something that we need to see. So going back here, if you take a look at this and refresh, give it a minute, of course, because it will load something from the CDN, and wow, it actually looks good. So what you're seeing here is the same cards, but it used Tailwind CSS, replaced the custom CSS with Tailwind CSS. And yeah, it's amazing. For me, I think it's a pretty good entry-level engineer that would do a job for you, or like some kind of side person with you that's supporting you. You can pair with it. You can think out loud with it. Because if I was building such a card, I don't think I would do a very good job at it. I think it would look very bad. And I think anyone who worked with doing something in the UI, he would know how painful it is to just make a layout look good and make it look consistent. So adding things with levels, making it highlighted in blue, and so on, it's really a painful job. So it took care of the pain for you. So that's really good. It like this tool is like amazing, right? It would take care of my job for me. So that's actually something I wanted to showcase. But what about if I do like the experiment of comparing between the languages I just showed you in the presentation, and let's see the output here. So like, let's just ignore that index.html, and I prepared here a use case, and this is actually a repo if you guys want to pair with me on it. I'm going to give you the link. Let me bring it up. So I have this trending benchmark repo. Yep, this is it. I'm going to put it in chat. If you want to open it, take a look at it. So this is the code for it. What I'm going to go through here, I'm not going to do like any kind of magics or write any kind of code by hand. I generated basically all of the code here. And it's for the sake of understanding the performance between languages. And we're going to discuss that a little bit and even debate about it for the next 30 minutes, because this is something that is open to debate. So here, what I want to do is I'm going to do a benchmark test. I'm gonna write a code in each language, JavaScript, Go, PHP, Rust. I'm gonna run all of them, and this is the code already written, and we're gonna see the results. So for each one, what will happen is a process an array of 1 million elements. If we're going to JavaScript, I'm going to show it to you. So we're basically going over 1 million elements in an array, pushing it to an array. Then I'm just basically doing a simple reduce function to do a sum calculation. But I'm doing it without even caring about the result, because I just want to do a performance test on the array reduce itself, the array loop itself, see how it will perform, and then it will give me the result, how much time this took. So yeah, it's kind of cool. In Go, it will be the same thing for the array test. In PHP, it will be the same thing for array test. Same thing, same functionality. I'm using the similar functionality. I made Cursor just basically dig it out for me, give me the function from each language. And in Rust, same thing. I'm not sure even I understand Rust, but yeah, bear with me. It's like, well, this is what it's doing to do that. So this is a test, but in Rust, it did it in a different way, because in Rust, you need to identify what this is, and this was what I was talking about. It's not just putting an array in memory. That's not how it's going to work in Rust. It's a pretty different use case. I'm going to try to go through the code, but I'm not an expert in Rust. So I'm just going to run it and see the result from each one. Then the second thing we're putting in consideration is a string operation. So this string operation is basically going to just do a concatenation of the A letter to a string. That's basically it. Same thing would happen in Go, but in Go, I'm going to use the string builder because it's more efficient than FMT. I'm good at Go, by the way. I'm good at Go and JavaScript, PHP, but Rust still not yet because it's kind of new. And then in PHP, of course, same thing. And last but not least, that would be Rust here would do the same string operation. And then the third test would be a math operation. So a math operation, what we are going to do, I'm going to get a number, like I'm going to loop, I think 10 million times. I told it like, yeah, 10 million times. It's going to loop for 10 million times. And it's going to do a modulus by 1,000. And then it's going to get the square root and get it times the sign of that number. For those who don't understand this math, I don't understand it too. Sometimes I need to validate it from Google or something, but even the AI would help me. Like I don't remember what a sign calculation would do, but I do remember a square root, so that would be the number times itself. A sign, I think it was something the other way around. But yeah, anyway, it would do this operation in all the languages. Same thing here would happen in Go also. Same thing here would happen in PHP. Same thing would happen in Rust. Why these three types of tests exactly? Because these three tests are basically what kind of operation you would do on a day-to-day basis. That would be it. So you're either in any language, you're either doing an array operation, a string operation, or a math operation. That's it. Like you're not basically doing anything. So these are the three tests we're going to go through. Which language would you guys prefer to start with? I prefer to start with PHP. Like, do you guys think it's okay to start with it and see like the test, see how it would go? Cool. So what I'm going to do here, I have already PHP installed, latest version. So even I'm going to show you that. So you don't say like, I'm not giving it what it's worth. So it's latest version running on Ubuntu version 22. So cool. I'm going to run everything on Linux. So we don't have like a Windows issue or some kind of compilation issue on Windows. It's going to be a safe environment. So here I'm going to say PHP. I'm going to say benchmark.php. And let's go. So PHP is giving me here an array operation in 10 milliseconds, which is really good. Compared to PHP 5, when like the initial versions, I would never get a number like this. For the string operation, like bear again with me on this, 1 millisecond for going over 100,000 characters. And for last but not least, in math operation, for 10 million calculation, it took almost half a second. So a millisecond is half a second. 1,000 millisecond is 1 second. Like, let me also like write that down. So 1,000 ms is 1 second. So you're not confused with these calculations. So, okay, so this is cool, right? Like, okay, I think this number is pretty awesome. Let's go to Node.js, JavaScript. Do you think JavaScript would be able to like get a number more better than this or more less than this? Which would you think it is? Is it more better? Like maybe you can do a thumbs up. Okay, and some people are thumbs down. So some people are not really trusting Node.js. I would get where they are coming from. So yeah, I even wouldn't trust it would get this number too. But let's go through the test. Let's see what would happen. So drum roll, let's go with it. So it's gonna be benchmark Node. Let's do it. Boom! You're getting here a result of 140 milliseconds total over everything. So basically, let's do a side-by-side comparison here. For the array operation that took here 10 milliseconds, actually JavaScript was slower. It was slower in array operation than PHP. So PHP is basically faster in arrays. If you're dealing with IO arrays, PHP would be much faster. So kudos to PHP for that. It was not like that, by the way. PHP was much more slower than that. They did huge optimizations and huge improvements the past couple of years. For string operations, I think it's kind of a tie. Like I think they are both at 1 millisecond, which is kind of cool. Like just a small difference here. Yeah, maybe JavaScript is a bit slower and again, it's a bit slower. But here is what would make things more interesting. For math operations, JavaScript is much faster. So PHP is at 474 milliseconds, but math operations here at 180 milliseconds. That would make it almost 4 times faster than PHP in any math calculation. And they are both running the same thing under the hood, like they're both doing that 10 million calculations with square root and sine functions. So I think Node.js or JavaScript is more optimized in doing math operations. Cool. So far, so good. So let's go into Go. Let's see what Go would give us. So thumbs up or thumbs down? Do you think Go is going to be faster? Cool. Lots of thumbs up here. Kind of interesting. Cool. Like you're trusting Go here. Like you're giving it a better benefit here. Let's go with it. So I'm going to give it a Go run. And I'm going to let it go. Benchmark.go. Let's fire it up. Boom. Wow. So you got almost knocked out of the water JavaScript and PHP with Go here, because an array operation is basically taking 1 millisecond. And JavaScript took 20 milliseconds, PHP 10 milliseconds. So it's basically 10 times faster than PHP and 20 times faster than JavaScript, which is really interesting. And like, yeah, it's kind of funny for me because each time I test Go out, I get the same impressions from people like, what's going on here? So yeah, it's amazing. And even here for the string operation, it barely even took 1 millisecond. For the sake of consideration, I think something that's more less than a millisecond is a nanosecond. So I think here it's taking around, I think it was 10 or 100, something like that. So it's actually taking a fraction of a second. So that's actually 0.1 millisecond compared to 1 millisecond here. So you can see this is like, if you even, it's like, you know, a speed of light happened here. Something is really strange. And what gets more and more interesting is this number, the math operation. So because a math calculation is always going to be the challenging part for any process. Like a process that would process something as a language, math is the way to like, you know, give it a kill. So a math operation here is still faster even than both languages. Like PHP would be last, then JavaScript, and then Go. But really kudos for JavaScript because it's almost as fast in math operations as Go, which is really interesting for me because it's not an overall holistic view that, hey, JavaScript is faster than Go. No, it's not like that. If I'm basically doing the same math calculation, it would be the same speed. But if you're doing a math calculation, then you're inserting stuff into an array and then concatenating something else, JavaScript would perform much less, worse than Go. That's how you put it here. Okay, drum roll, you're ready for Rust? I think Rust is going to be really, really, really interesting. Like for starters, do you think it's going to be faster or slower? What do you think, guys? Okay, so most people think Rust is going to be faster, right? Here is the tricky part, and let's see this. I'm going to just run the Rust compiler at default configuration with Rust compiler to compile that benchmark.rs, which is basically this file over here. So it's going to go ahead, compile this file that has this Rust code in it to do the operations, and then I'm going to run it. You need to compile it and run it. It doesn't have a runner. So I'm going to run that binary file. Wow. So it's kind of strange here what you're seeing as numbers. If you see here the numbers, yes, it's interesting, but it's almost the same speed as Go, but even Go is much faster. What? And the string operations, yes, it's good. It's super fast than the other two languages, but it's almost as fast as Go. Again, for the math operations, like I think Go is much faster. And even here, JavaScript is much faster than Rust. Something is wrong. Like what? Like what's going on here? So this is a tricky part. When you're dealing with Rust, you need to specify for the cargo that does a compilation to do an optimization for the code to transform it into a more lower level version. Let's call it like that. It's kind of complicated. I didn't even like get the full specter here, but what I need to do is just basically say Rust C, and then I'm gonna pass here into the compilation options. I'm gonna say, I think it was optimize level, something like that. Yeah, I think if I go here, it was kind of like, yeah, I need to pass this command. So this command is the most important thing to do with Rust. If you pass this command to do the optimization here, and I'm going to tell it, go ahead and compile this file. So when it compiles this file, and now you're going to go ahead and run it, boom. What an amazing output. So here you're seeing the array operations, wow, much faster than the first time. So just using different compilation configuration is going to make Rust slower. So that's like, a catch here. So here, of course, comparing Rust to Go, wow, oh wow, what is going on? So it's like 0.29 millisecond for an array operation of, again, like, what is the number here? It was 1 million elements. So it's able to process 1 million elements in less than half a second. Which is really, really crazy here. Like these numbers are all crazy, by the way, but this is the top one. Like this got to me like, what? 0.29. Okay. Now this one is it's completely knocking everything out of the water. So it's almost like faster by 40% than the string in Go, like which was already fast in Go, but it's more faster. Now, the math operation are the one that, like, boom, Rust is going to be the one to go for any heavy-duty math operations because it's the fastest. Like, it's the fastest today, I think, like 56 milliseconds for processing 10 million items and doing square root and sine at the same time. Wow, what the hell? Like, this number over here is a really, really, really vague number for me. Like, how can a programming language do this kind of processing and operations and do it this fast? It's kind of strange for me. So if we talk about these numbers a little bit, like I'm gonna like ask questions, and you can feel free to just like write answers in chat. I'm running Go 1.24 if you're asking. So that's Go 1.24. The latest version, I believe, 1.241, something like that. I think if I say Go version, not sure if it's version or Go version right away. So sorry, 1.23. So yeah, I didn't try 1.24. I'm not sure if it's going to be faster or not, but I'm super confident that Rust is going to always like take the lead on this such topic. So yeah, kind of interesting. These numbers are interesting. But yeah, here comes the question. And this is really like a question that bears on my mind. If we are talking about half a second here to process this high intensity of operation, going from that number to 56 millisecond here, does it really matter? Like, does half a second to 56 millisecond? I think half a second is already super fast. Like, if you just close your eyes and open it, I think it would be like you wouldn't get half a second. It's like thunderstruck. So it's super fast. So half a second is already fast. Why are we saying that Rust is going to be more faster, more performant? So yeah, I think yes, Hazem, I think that's a good point. It could be faster, but I'm not sure if it's going to be much faster than Rust, but it's a good point, a good comparison. I think I would get to it at some point. So again, going back to that question, maybe like we can get a thumbs up here, or like some answers I'm going to say, or thumbs down. So for me, I'm going to say for most mainstream projects, something like PHP or JavaScript would do the job. Is that correct? Like, do you think that is a correct statement? Perfect. That's exactly the point. If you're doing a mainstream project, when I say mainstream, I mean something that would need basic CRUD operations. It would need some kind of like, injecting, ejecting, doing IO operations, especially if it's something that's not really time sensitive. So if you're adding an item to cart, and that item to cart would need to go to checkout, if there is like half a second delay to 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, I don't think it would be an issue to the customer. Because if what you're seeing here today means something, it would mean that Rust and Go would go into the heavy load operations. But if you're doing something that performs and requires real-time latency to be almost less than 10 milliseconds, Go would be the sweet spot. Do you agree with that? Like, if you think Go and Rust would be the way to go for using something that needs high intensive math operation with less than 10 millisecond latency, that would be it. The only systems I worked on that need that are fintech systems, especially trading in fintech, like systems like stock systems or Bitcoin trading, because you have a price changing each half a second. In that half a second, I need to calculate something called the spread price and something called the Vega and so on. These calculations, I need to do it in less of a half a second. So that would mean the latency should not exceed 10 milliseconds for a calculation I would do. Yes, that's a system I worked on. They have this kind of algorithm that you need to do a chase operation on the price and to see if you're getting the best bid. Because you need to reach a best bid, then you need to sell. That's how they do it in the trading. So if you have a latency of half millisecond, like what you're seeing here with PHP, it would be a nightmare. Like, imagine you're getting a price that is half a second later, and that price is already updated around 10 times already. So it doesn't make sense that you do that, because the execution would happen each 10 milliseconds to get the best spread price and the best bid price. So these are such systems that would require Go. Okay, so that's a really good, interesting thing to know here. Let's go back to the presentation, kind of like have some other things to go through. So we did a good tryout, and cursor is amazing and it's good there. And yeah, good point. It always depends. It's always about the trade-off. And that is something I like. And the word trade-off, if you want to put a good definition to it, you need to say, what is the business case? Are we building something that requires math operations, array input-output, or string operations? And you need to identify each category of these for your project. And based on it, you can decide, okay, which language should I use? Should I use JavaScript, PHP, Go, Rust, whatever? I think that would be the way to go. There is another language, by the way, that I didn't mention on the list, but I think it's an honorary mention because I didn't really work with it, but it's kind of still new, which is called Zig. And I'm not sure did you guys hear about Zig? Like, can you just give a thumb up? Cool. Yeah. So Zig is a relatively more newer language than Rust and Go. So it's still not working under the hood for something in production yet. I think it's getting the like the still entry point projects. Like it's trying to overseed what Rust is doing. Like it's trying to exceed the 50 millisecond result you just saw. So Zig is also like a good language there, but to be honest, most of the mainstream projects would still need something like JavaScript, PHP, Go. So don't put a debate to it. Don't say like, hey, I'm a person who loves JavaScript and that's it. No, if something requires a more intensive math operation, use Go. It would be much easier to learn, much easier to digest. And that's why we have microservices. You can have a service that is Go, another built with JavaScript. Totally okay. Going back here. So yeah, Rust is a winner. Congratulations to Rust. Amazing numbers. These are like the results we saw over here. And again, all of them are pretty fast results, but we're talking about more intensive operations that require more intensive time, something like medical systems, trading system, exchange for Bitcoins, and so on. They need to be super time intensive, so a millisecond would really make a differentiation here. So this is a code repo. I left it also for you. I sent it to you here on chat. If you wish to do this test yourself, run it locally. I encourage you to do so, by the way. Like you should be a developer that does everything today. Don't put in consideration like, hey, I don't understand Rust. I don't understand Go. You need to understand it. That is the point here. You need to go ahead and understand it. So open that repo up, clone it up locally, go ahead and give it a try. Like see the thing I showed you as an entry point. Yeah, let's put it again for people who didn't get it. So this is the repo again. If you want to clone it locally. I also try to send this presentation link to Dareen, so you can also share it with you guys if you wish. I can even send it now, I think. Maybe share. I think there's something called copy link, public view link. Yeah, copy. I think if you go to this, yeah, 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 it wasn't. It was fun. I believe so too. So I'm gonna go to some conclusions here, and yeah. So what to do with this knowledge? Like, what are you getting out for me today? Like, so again, it's fun stuff to know. It's fun and interesting. You're getting to understand how languages are working under the hood. It's a good icebreaker in interviews. And really, I'm not joking here. Use it in interviews because people who think that you are like a person that has this kind of intuition to look outside of the box, understand how Rust is working, Go is working, JavaScript is working, they appreciate you more because they think you're like a person who thinks, he's always on the run, he's always working. So do that. But yeah, let's talk a little bit in the outro about AI. Then I'm gonna leave like the last 10 minutes for you guys. I'm gonna like leave more time. We don't need to cut at 6 p.m. exactly. Like we're kind of flexible here. So is AI really taking over our work? I'm gonna talk about this a little bit. Like let's discuss it out loud. I don't really have like slides to showcase here, but I'm just gonna talk about it. So number one, put in consideration that AI is not going to replace you in the short-term period that we are seeing right now. It's a good co-pilot. It's a good supporter. It's a good productivity tool. And that's how you should define it. Don't be against it. Use it in your work. For me to generate these 4 files, I needed to understand each and every language, each and everything. I didn't need to do that. All I needed to do is go with cursor. Hey, cursor, I want to generate 4 files, each one in different languages to compile a 10 million math operation and so on. It generated it for me. So I used it to my benefit. Today, there is a use case that you would see very strange, but I'm going to tell you about it. One of the companies I worked with, they actually gave us a subscription for Cursor. So they subscribed for the Cursor Business Edition, and they give each employee in the company a Cursor license. Hey, you're going to work with this. So it's kind of like companies are encouraging you to use it. Why? They want you to be more productive. And they understand they cannot rely on it 100%. This is how the business mind is working today. So don't get fooled by the superficial people that tell you like, hey, AI is generating code now, so AI is going to replace us. Cool. So that's not, yeah, exactly. So calculations didn't replace accountants. That's actually a very good point. A calculator did not replace an accountant. So an accountant's job today is different. This is how you think about it. So your job is getting different today. You need to acknowledge that. And it's getting more and more different. So if you look at the job 2-3 years ago only, I didn't have AI capabilities. I needed to know everything and every syntax and everything one by one. But today, if you look at how development is happening, I can fix bugs with cursor because it would identify where the bug is happening. And then I decide what kind of prompt I'm asking it to do. Based on it, it will give me the result. And this is something you need to do it. That would happen 100%. If you are not doing something out of consideration that you understand what you're doing as a software engineer, you would always get bad output with AI or not. If you don't understand what you're building, if you don't understand the business case, if you don't understand the problem statement, and I believe all of you know what a problem statement is. So a problem statement is basically, what am I fixing? What am I building this feature for? What kind of business issue am I solving here? If you know these question answers exactly, you are able to feed a very powerful prompt that will give you a very powerful output. But yeah, as Abdurrahman is saying in the chat, like vibe coders, they could fix their code and earn money. But to be honest, all of them suck. Like all of them open a good startup. And we saw the news, like there was this guy who built everything with cursor from A to Z, but he doesn't understand the environment variables, doesn't understand web security, he doesn't understand how a database works. He's putting everything static in the code, and in JavaScript, since it's not compiled, any like ABC person would be able to inspect the element and get the keys out of there and abuse the system. That's what happened to him. So if you're not understanding what you're building, if you don't know what you're building, you will be the person to lag off behind. If you understand exactly what's happening, you would be able to supersede. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. If you have a question, go ahead.
Yahya, we will have time for the Q&A.
Okay.
Cool. Session. So everyone is muted for now.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, Abdullah, can you prepare your question to the Q&A part?
Yeah, only 3 minutes, and then we can start the question phase.
Okay,
so, yeah, I'm gonna end it with something that I want you to understand, that what companies want is the following. Yeah, how many people can we fire? This is exactly what they want to put in consideration. But take it the other way around. What they really want to know is, are you a system engineer or not? Like, you should have full stack knowledge. You should have it. You don't need to be a full stack engineer, but you should understand how the front end is working. You understand how the back end is working. And as I mentioned, you're switching context. So I'm back end for some time. I'm front end for some time. I understand how both are working. And me today, when I join with some new company as a consultant, as a freelance project, because I do that all the time, I'm able to understand what the front end is needing because I'm a back end position, and the other way around, I'm able to do so. Also, you should understand cloud, how the cloud is working. What is EC2? What is a Lambda function? What is serverless? All these things, it should be common knowledge for you. It's not an optional today. You must know it. And also you need to know the QA knowledge, the QA workflow. Like you should understand, okay, how are we testing? Why are we testing? What is a smoke test? What is a regression test? These terms, they are used nowadays in the job day to day, especially if you want to be a more senior engineer. That's how you will make it happen. And of course, a system design knowledge is really, 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 really important. Either you are working front end or back end, understanding how a system is working, something that is a must. you need to understand what the system components are, how they are interacting together, how secure are they, do you have high availability, do you have resilience, and so on. So that is something you need to know. And like system design knowledge, and the best book I did walk through with, it was called the System Design Interview. This is a book that I think by a person called Alex Chu. It's amazing book. Like whoever read it, like gained knowledge, years and years of experience. He put in this book as use cases to give you an understanding of how software is working. Like he gave you a good example of like how a link shortener is working behind the scenes, behind the hood. Like how is it working? That's what would make you a better software engineer. That's what would make companies, when you go into an interview, they will hire you as a senior engineer, a staff engineer, a principal engineer. That's what I'm doing today. Like when I go into a company, I go into the interview, they ask me about system design, I'm there. They ask me about front end, I'm able to answer. Back end, I'm able to answer. But you must understand what you're applying for. So I'm applying for something back end. I'm more answering to fine-tune back end questions. I'm not answering everything. So that's how you think about it today. Also, you need to be an AI-driven productivity engineer. So please, please, please use Cursor, use ChatGPT, use Cobalt for code review. This is something interest, by the way, but maybe like this is a session for next time. So there is a code review today that would happen automatically by a bot. And this bot would be able to review your code, give you what kind of performance issues you're having, what kind of algorithm issues you're having, business functionality issues, and so on. I think I'm not sure. Did any one of you work with like proper PR flows? Maybe like just thumbs up. Are you approving code without checking or not? Because I think some engineers have the tendency to, hey, yeah, this code looks good to me, like LGTM. At first, I didn't understand what LGTM means. Like, it's a slang that was really, really, weird for me. So all people go on code reviews, LGTM. Especially with like something like this, because you're giving out a PR to a senior engineer, and then he looks at the code, and then like you change more than 700 files. It's a nightmare. Like you change all of these, man. You require me to see that. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. So yeah, two things to put here in consideration. Yeah, Gemini is also good for code review. But there are more specialized tools that they made good training on Claude, which is Cobalt. This is one tool we saw experimenting with in one of the companies. And also there's another tool, I think it's called Code Rabbit. Both of these are like good, amazing PR tools. Try to experiment with them. You can install them on your GitHub repo or GitHub account, and they just work out of the box. They have their free package, they have their paid package, as most of them do. So yeah, exactly, Karim. It's an art from how everyone is doing their code review. So amazing, cool. Learn to adapt AI, you will get hired. If you're not adapting AI, you will not get hired. This is 100% thing to do today. That doesn't mean that you would not go into interviews and they would not do a code challenge with you or a live code interview. They still do that, and we still do that, even when we are hiring. When they put me as hiring in Yasir or someone else, some other company, I still do that. Like I need to understand if the person has the mentality of a software engineer or not. But I don't care about the syntax. That's the sweet spot. So if I'm interviewing someone, he understands the logic, that's good for me. He doesn't need to write it and compile it and give me an output. I don't care. I care that you understand that you have a problem at hand. How are you solving it? This is the right way to do interviews, by the way. So if you are a senior position and you're interviewing someone for a job, don't give them a hard time of like, you need to be exact the syntax. No one cares about the syntax. If you want to write a good syntax, Cursor would do that for you. If you want to understand the problem you're solving, this is what you're interested about. So yeah, any language, all language, they're all needed. I think that's it. Now, time for questions.
Yahya, for this amazing presentation. Now, guys, we'll open the time for the Q&A. So if you please have any question, please raise your hand using the raise your hand feature. Once I call your name, you can unmute yourself.
Yep.
Abdullah, I guess you already had a question.
Hello, Yahya. What about for using the MCP server for a simple problem? Just checking a question, having in a document in the system or no, for go to the question to GPT, Gemini, anything.
So if your question is like if you're building a simple service, or like what is the question? I didn't get it.
Yeah. I think that.
So I think if you're going with GPT or Gemini or Claude, whatever, make it generate the output for you. But two things you need to do. This is really important. First of all, give it a very good prompt. You must understand what you're doing. You must understand that 100%. The second thing is don't accept the code it gives to you. Go through it line by line. This is what I do for like any job I'm working on, like not what I did in the presentation. That's not cool. Like just accept. That's not correct. Look at it line by line. What does this line mean? Because imagine this. Imagine if I'm looking at your code and I came to ask you, hey, what does this line do? If you don't know the answer, that's a big problem. So that means like you took a code, same way you took it from Stack Overflow years ago, copy paste, same way you're doing it today with AI. Same thing.
Yeah, like another question. As a fresh in backend development, using a vibe coding for using another technologies, Go Rust is amazing language for speeding and more simple. Just finish .NET development. Can you use vibe coding or wait till get more experience?
To be honest, I don't think like you don't confuse don't mix learning with implementing. So if I'm still
I'm
it's
just
still
finished learning.
if you just finished learning, what does finished learning mean? Like you need to go through the steps of implementing something, understand how it goes, where it goes, then go ahead use AI tool. Like I myself, I learned a lot on Node.js, I learned a lot on Go even before I started using any of the AI tools. I use it for my day-to-day work after I learned how Go is working. You need to understand something like a Go routine. What does it do? You need to understand multi-threading. Even in .NET, you have that. You need to understand what is async await, for example, because most people don't know async programming. This is something really bad that I see in it. That when I ask someone what is async programming, I don't know it. I don't care what language you work with. This is a concept. So if you learned it very good, go ahead and use it. Go ahead, use vibe coding. But don't cancel your brain out. Your brain must be there reviewing each and every step of the code. Cool?
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, who's next? I guess, Yahya, we have one question in the chat.
Yep. Should we consider hiring cost, learning curve, ability of developers, and community support while considering Rust and Go for projects? Yes, 100% correct. But today, Go has already lots of developers in the community. As you saw, like more than 6 million developers worldwide. So it has good adaptation. Rust, I don't think so. It doesn't have that much adaptation. I wouldn't recommend Rust for a new project you're building on your own. It doesn't make sense. Either go with something that is mainstream like PHP, Node.js. You'd find a ton of developers with cheap cost because that's what you're aiming for either as a business or as a freelance developer even. Because you don't want to build something and then what? I'm the only one who can fix it. That's really problematic.
Yeah. We have Rida. Ahmed Rida, can you please unmute yourself?
ازيك يا يحيى الأول. يعني sorry for talking in Arabic, but it's for our image's sake. أنا كبي إم الصراحة استمتعت جدا، يعني أنا مش بروجرامينج خالص، بس كبي إم شكرا ليك جدا اللي أنت كنت موجود، وفعلا معلومات لذيذة وطريقتك تحفة.
شكرا.
اكيد مختلف جدا عن الصوره اصلا اللي انا كنت متخيلها ليك. مش عاوز اطلع بره الكونتست قوي، بس مبسوط ان انا حضرت السيشن دي، وبحييك جدا يا يحيى، وسلامي لمنعش وعمرو بقى.
شكرا
شكرا لك جدا.
Thank you.
Okay, Abdo, you can unmute yourself.
السلام عليكم يا باشمهندس.
الحمد لله. Go ahead.
انا في اولى حاسبات، ومثلا لما باجي ذاكرت ميرن ستاك وكده، واتعلمت حبه عن اليونت تيستنج وكده. لما مثلا باجي اشوف شغل وكده، ناس كتير بتعترض ان انا مثلا ممكن اكون في اولى، فمش بيرضوا حتى يكملوا مع الانترفيو. حتى انا عامل مشاريع كتير وبيعترضوا اصلا ايه اللي هو ايه، مش مفيش انترفيو يعني وكده. انا امتى بقى مثلا يعني اقدر ان انا اقدم على شغل، او اكون حتى متاكد ان انا فاهم يعني انا عشان اشتغل؟
اوكي. interview question. طيب خليني اجاوبك بالعربي، وممكن كده نترانسليت ان انجلش تانسر يعني. بص، انت عاده الحته دي بتاعت ان انت تبقى a good person in interviews هي سكيل مختلفه عن التعليم اللي انت بتتعلمه. فدي انا شايف ان اي شخص يبدا انترفيو رايت اواي. you don't need to wait. you don't need to wait like اللي هو لازم استنى لما اخلص تعليم. لا هو اصلا الانترفيو سكيلز مختلفه. انت بتدخل انترفيو it's more about presenting yourself. انا بقدم نفسي، انا بpresent who am I, who like the same way I did at the beginning. who is Yahya, what is he doing, and assume الشخص اللي قدامك ما يعرفكش. you're a complete stranger to him. you should upsell yourself. like you should give a person that hey I'm the person you need to hire. ودي سكيلز مختلفه، دي presentation skills. ودي المشكله اللي الناس ما بتتعلمهاش. ف learning the technology and tech is not the whole deal. ده part of the interview. ان هو ممكن يسالك اعمل لي ده، حل لي الكود، الكلام ده كله. بس the more important part is being a good person to present yourself. This is something لازم تتدرب عليه. لازم تقعد تسال نفسك questions. who am I, انا مين، انا بعمل ايه، انا عايز اشتغل ايه، انا ليه اشتغل في الشركه دي. research about the company, see what they're working on. like شغالين في medical system وانت بتجوين interview, tell him I'm really interested ان انا ان انا اشتغل في حاجه زي الميديكال سيستم زي ده. انا شايف ان هو دي نظرتي انا، انت بجد، ان الميديكال سيستم ده حاجه نوبل كويست، حاجه بتساعد الناس، حاجه ممكن تنقذ حياه ناس. ف this is really me. ف that's what you should do in any kind of interview. بس yeah, I'm going to rephrase the question and like say it again. So he's asking like he's learning and he needs to understand when he should start doing interviewing if he's still like in college. So he needs to do that. Like when should I go into interviews? So that's what I said. Like basically, you need to understand how to present yourself. That's different from learning.
Yahya, there's a comment from our CEO, Khalid Salami. هتلاقيه فوق برضه.
Thank you, Khalid. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here والله، وhappy ان احنا بنعمل session زي دي يعني. Really interesting.
Abdullah, with your question, please.
I'm so sorry, and I can't ask my question by English, but I can understand answer by English. كان عندي سؤال، ليه دايما لما بكلم حد ان انا عايز اعمل سيستم مايكرو سيرفيس مثلا اعمله مالتي تكنولوجي، عندي مثلا سيستم فيه مثلا جاليري الناس بتدخل عليه على طول، ليه ما استعملش مايكرو سيرفيس زي بام استفيد من الريكوستس كتير وعامله مالتي تكنولوجي؟ ليه الناس دايما بتحب تفوكس على تكنولوجي واحده، مع ان ممكن ان احنا ناخد اوبتيمال سوليوشن من كذا تكنولوجي، ودلوقتي ده ما بقاش صعب بسبب الفايب كود.
بص, okay, I'm gonna answer in English. So the question is, why isn't it really like just easy to build anything with multi-language, multi-frameworks, multi-models, and so on? So that is the question. Like, why won't we be able to build everything with its own context and its own microservice? It's really hard. It's not really that easy. Let me put it into context like this. You are building an ordering system, and that's something I worked on. So I'm building an ordering system, a food delivery system. You have different parts in the system. You have an ordering module, you have a part for checkout, you have a part for cart management, inventory management. Now, if I want to hire a team for each part of the system, having a team with dedicated technology for each part is going to be a nightmare. Like imagine you have one team in the company that is Go, another team is Java, another team is Node.js, another team is Rust, another team is whatever. This is going to be very hard to maintain. Even Netflix went through this use case years ago, and they discussed it like publicly. They said like we're the first people on the planet to go to microservices. mainstream. Like they are the first people to do microservices the right way. They started eliminating the multi-technology paradigm unless it's needed, unless it's a must. Like if you're getting calculations, okay, I need to do it with Go. So that's why you would make Go all the way. Another company I worked with, if you have a small amount of people, like if I have 3 engineers, and these 3 engineers are experts in Go, but I have one of the other projects built in JavaScript, they would need to understand how the JavaScript ecosystem and paradigm is working and learn it first before shifting into it. Because if they get an output from the vibe coding, how can they evaluate it's correct? You need to be an expert. That's the point. So don't mix learning with implementation. If you're mixing learning with implementation, that's a problem. I still need to understand how Go is working by the scene. It doesn't mean that I spit out Rust code that it's correct. Who told you that the Rust code I spit out from the AI is correct? I need to evaluate it. I need to go ahead and study Rust, understand it, and see if the things that got out from the AI is really correct to that use case. Does it make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah, but you told انت قلت قبل كده حضرتك ان في مره ان دايما الاركتشر بيبقى متشابه. يعني مثلا لو هنعمل حاجه بالام في سي، هو الام في سي يعني اركتشر متشابه في كل اللغات، لا والسنتكس مش مهمه قوي.
صح. But the problem is going to be not architecture, not design patterns. In real life projects, there is a bigger problem, which is consistency across the code base for engineering teams to be able to evaluate it. Think of it like that. تخيل ان انت okay, different syntax, but the syntax written in one language is really poorly written, but it's following MVC pattern. In another language, it's MVC pattern and written the perfect way in JavaScript. You won't be able to evaluate that other one because you're not an expert there. That's why you still, as a software engineer, need to learn multiple languages. That's why when you're getting hired, they tell you, you need to understand a backend language or start learning it. They'll give you 3 months period, start learning it. But do companies really want to invest in someone and get him on board as a senior, but give him 3 months time to learn some other language? I don't think so. And it's really also hard to maintain the issues. What about version? Like, assume we get overseated that syntax issue and vibe coding issue. I think, okay, good. It could reach at that point sometime down the road, like maybe in a year or so. But what about version management? So Go updated its version. I need to go ahead and validate Go. JavaScript has a new version in Node.js. I need to also go and validate that. And then you have a third language in the context. So if you have these 3 languages, you need to go across all of these languages, all of these projects, do extra regression testing, extra validation, extra time, extra cost for the company. That's why they try to minimize the engineering effort. If you can do it with one language, do it. If it needs and super must, you need to introduce another language, introduce that language. You don't need to complicate the job. It's not about I'm able to work with Rust. No. Is Rust fit for your job, or can JavaScript do it? If JavaScript can do it, then use JavaScript for everything. That's how they think nowadays in company. Less time, less cost.
Yeah, makes sense. Is correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks.
We have 2 more questions, Yahya. Let's start with Abdurrahman. Then we're going to have one last question.
Cool.
Abdurrahman.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, I'm Abdurrahman Nashat, senior software engineer. Actually, I don't have a question, but I have an interested use case, maybe related to what we are talking about, related dependence. I'm working on a video processing platform. It was built by Laravel and PHP. When we get more customers and expanding, some jobs was taking maybe 2 hours to be handled. After migrating it to Golang, it only take 10 minutes, and this is very, very, very interested an enhancement. And also, I have an advice to Abdullah, who was talking before. He was asking the residents for changing. When I came to the table and proposed my solution, at the first, it is refused for the same reasons you talked about. But I say, okay, and go build a side project as a POC. And when I came with the numbers, they surprised, and they have no choice to refuse again. So I think if you are confident with your solution, defend on it.
Yes, totally agree. Thanks, Abraham, for sharing that. It's actually amazing that you got from 2 hours to 10 minutes. That's a really impressive number. And that's I think, the use case we talked about, that if you are going down from that, like something that would take hours into minutes, that's what we're talking about, not from 500 milliseconds to 10 milliseconds. It's a percentage, it's a ratio. So amazing that you reached that. And thanks for sharing.
Okay. Alice, you can unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much for your session, Yahya. My question is regarding the use of the cursor. So we have a free plan. I tried cursor. It was like premium for 2 weeks, and now it is free. So what do you suggest we should? I think we should use the paid variant. And if we use a paid variant, then we have like will we get the like Sonnet Max and the paid models we will get along with this paid subscription, or like what do you suggest?
So it's kind of tricky today to see which provider is giving you like the best deal, because they are all competing. Like initially when Cursor like was out, it gave, I think, free for lots of things, but then when he saw other competition and people have demand, it introduced a $20 package. That's what I'm using today. It's good enough for me. The 3.7 and 3.5 in Claude Sonnet, they are giving me good results. To be honest, not amazing. In real life projects, when I'm doing very fine tuning in Go project, exactly, it needs lots of context for you to explain before it would give you a really proper output. And then like at some point you say, hey, I'm just gonna write it myself. So it's not really, but like in general, Max and 3.7, they are not really, I think, that far away from each other. They are upselling it, and it's all about business for me. Like from what I'm seeing, they're just putting packages for you out there to purchase, but it's not really efficient. I think Max is always going to be per request. It charges you like $0.05 per request, something like that. So it's worth it if you are going to do lots of prompting and you have lots of refactoring, lots of working tasks to work on. I think it's going to be efficient to use it like that. But if you are doing something that's really complicated and require you to think about the logic and just need to spit out the syntax, ChatGPT would even, GPT-4 would be more than perfect. So it's going to vary a lot based on the context. Don't subscribe unless you try it first. You can also try Tray. I think there is Tray. I think people shouted out to me about it in lots of comments. It's an alternative to Cursor that is, I think, free, 100%. But I'm not sure what is the catch here. If it's free 100%, it makes me kind of like, what's going on? Why are you giving it free? Are you getting data from my machine, or what's going on here? So that's also something to tread lightly with. It's Chinese, yes. So I'm assuming it's training their own kind of data sets. So something to be careful about even today in general is don't give 100% trust to any tool unless it's vetted. Like, so Cursor from even Claude itself, they said like, use Cursor. They're an amazing person. They're trustworthy. So if they are vetted, you can work with it. But any AI tool that's telling you I'm free 100%, I am not trusting. Something is wrong.
Okay. So if we conclude the answer, so if we have a lot of context, then obviously we need the paid version, and So I just have a question that if I use the paid version of the cursor, then I will have access to the for example Claude. I will have access to the paid Claude inside the cursor.
Yeah, yep. It will give you access to 3.7, 3.5, GPT, Gemini, the Pro Max one that's really introduced newly. So it gives you access to all of these models, but only the max version is going to be per request, even if you got the paid version. So if you got $20 in, you're still going to pay for the extra max request.
Max.
Yeah.
But it gives access to some of the paid versions like GPT, Chat GPT, and other
Yep,
Sonnet.
yep. Exactly.
That is beneficial then. Very.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Yahya. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, everyone, that brings us to the end of our session today. A big thank you to Yahya for today's amazing session. And thank you so much, everyone, for participating and attending this session. Have a great evening. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Yahya.
Bye.
Bye. ممكن تعمل سكرين شوت للحاجات اللي في بتاع
Hello.